Hello back guys, how about this? This is a new video. Yes, I did promise to actually post this on Wednesday, which is actually today, but I'm gonna post this on Thursday because there were some complications that I got into. I do know I did say I solved everything before the video even started, but apparently it was not exactly that. So before I get into everything I want to say, I just want to tell you that from now on, right now, as I said in a previous video, probably I'm not gonna do a series per se. I'm going to basically post for a little bit of time at least some tutorials, you know, just like a one-time tutorial kind of stuff, not necessarily something like from point A to point B necessarily. And yeah, that's basically kind of it. So with this being said, please guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe because a lot more good content is going to show up, and I do post once in 2 days if nothing really happens. And really, if you like the video, please give a like on this video. It will really help me a lot because of the algorithm and all that. So as I said, I thank you so much for being 100 subscribers, but we can go further than that. I think we can really grow, and you know, let's hit the 500. Come on, I don't think it's that hard. And with this being said, also, if you want to leave a comment, please leave the comment. Tell me your opinion. Tell me what would you like to see, what would you like to do next, and I will try to keep all of those in consideration. And I try to please everyone as much as I can anyway. And with this all being said, let's actually get into the video. So, did you ever wonder how it would be for us to actually sell our objects? You know, the 3D objects, the 3D assets, or how it would be to get them from Blender and get them into Unreal or Unity or, you know, other 3D software to work with? Well, that actually is not as hard as you think. However, not all information is passed from one 3D software to another, and today I'm going to show you how we can actually get the material information, well, the textures, I mean, to actually go from Blender to any place you want. If you're looking to sell your assets, you will definitely need to do this. If you're looking to put them in Unreal, most of the time you have to do this. Sometimes they do work, but only if your textures are not procedural, and there's a reason for it. So let I actually so for starters, I'm going to the main cylinder and the rim. These are the only two objects I'm going to work on in this video. I'm going to do them all because, as I said, I'm gonna give them for free to you guys on Sketchfab, or I don't know if any other place, again, remains to be seen, but Sketchfab will be definitely the main place where I'll put them. And I will do this for every single one of these textures and for every single one of these objects. But for the video, I think the cylinder, the main cylinder, and the rim are more than enough. So let me actually show you how this is done. It's actually not that hard, and it's super interesting, and in my opinion, it's super useful. So let's actually go into the shading tab. So what happens in the shading tab is actually pretty easy to understand for a lot of people. I think everyone kind of got a point. If you did not follow the texture tutorial, I do recommend it. I explain it pretty much in detail, whatever, like everything that happens, how the textures work, how we can actually create textures, and it's not that hard to follow, and it's going to help us a lot to understand these steps. So if you remember, these are the textures. For example, for the main cylinder, basically we have maps for creating the snow, for creating the metals, and you know, the different parts of the metals, and so on and so forth, which is pretty cool, right? But if you put this object right now in other 3D softwares, this will not be able to be read. The reason for it is because we use functions that work in Blender. They are made for Blender, and putting them in other 3D softwares, they will basically not know how to read all of them. Some of them might be able to be read, but it is not gonna work. The reason 3D softwares really work though, and all 3D softwares have this in common, it's something you actually do see a lot. So actually, let me get into this. This is a material from Blender Kit, if you remember. And actually, these two textures are the main example of how textures really work in each 3D software, which is by being image textures. Basically, you just get your texture, you put it on an image, and there we go. That's it. I'm actually going to pull an example right here, I think, or right above my head. Yeah, no, above my head, and I'm gonna stay like this to see it. This is CJ, I hope, from San Andreas. That's his texture, or at least someone from San Andreas. I don't know. That's the one texture I did see and I thought about. And this is the reason UV unwrapping was so important. So remember, again, if you did not see the video with UV unwrap, I would recommend you that video to understand better what I'm talking about. But as a summary, when you unwrap something, it's basically you put your 3D object on a 2D plane, basically, right? So you will have to tell your drawing, your plane, how to wrap around your 3D object. Sorry for that. And basically how to color it and give it shape and information. And it might seem easy in the beginning to do so. It's not that easy per se. The reason for it really, it's because of, well, unwrapping, really. It's kind of the hardest step. Unwrapping is not that easy necessarily. For some objects it is, for some it's not, especially for characters. But we're going to talk that in another time. But when it comes to textures, that's what you need. And image textures are basically exactly those textures you see in each game. Each game has that. Each object from a game has exactly that. And we're going to do actually two things. So I am going to do only two objects, but I am going to show you something pretty cool that works with the whole train basically. But until we get there, let us get this set up a little bit, because we will work in the layout mode most of the time anyway. And what we have to do is pull up another window here. So if you don't remember how, just go into the corners and you'll have this plus and basically just drag it out. And let's pull one more window here. The first one, we will just make a UV editor, because that's pretty cool. And the second one, we will just put it into the shader editor. All right. Now, how do we really define a texture? I think that's the most important question out of all of them. It's really, all right, I want the textures, but what should I do? Well, you need some specific information about a body to basically make it look as it should. So basically, we will make it look more or less exactly like this. And you'll understand why I say more or less in just 1 second when we get there. But basically, we will not use this procedural material anymore. We will actually just use image textures to do so. And the way it is done, you basically take an image texture. So let me take an image texture right here. Now, again, I did work on this yesterday, and so I do have these already formed. But basically what you want to do is create a new image, make it whatever resolution you want. I do recommend you, because these are textures. First of all, you have to think how much, what file size kind of you want. The bigger the resolution, the more detail you have, which means it's gonna look better, but it's also going to be it's gonna be a much bigger file, and it's also gonna make your GPU compute much more. So you have to think about that when you do this. I did 4K resolutions, and if you don't remember how to do this, I'm actually just gonna show you just a little bit. You just come here, get this. So you just click once, not click once, sorry. Just come here, drag it, and then times 4, and this is 4K. If you want it 2K times 2, if you want it 8K times 8, and so on and so forth, I think you got a point. But I'm not gonna actually create it, because again, I already do have them. I'm just gonna do it over this. I named it main cylinder color, and it's right here an image texture to basically have. And now you might think, well, why do we need this? The reason we need this is because we need to put our texture, we need to put our information, the information we need to get into the other softwares. We need to put them on something to be able to be read. And again, images are the best because every 3D software knows how to read an image. Now, the thing about it is there are a few different ways these images work. And let's start with color, right? Because it's the thing we see the first. And so let's actually work with that. So column is, let's actually change it up here as well. Main cylinder color. And you'll actually see it already because again, I already did this right here. And this is basically how these things have to look. And if I was able to actually pull that image up with CJ or whatever from San Andreas, that's basically how this will look. It will basically spread it considering our UV and wrapping, which is actually pretty cool. So to actually get this result, because that's what we need to understand, is by going to the render engine right here, to the render tab. You cannot do this in Eevee. So if you do work in Eevee, that's fine. That's okay. Just switch to cycles for this one. And you have to work in cycles because Eevee cannot support baking. So with this being said, please switch to cycles. Switch the GPU compute to CPU. And yes, this might seem crazy, but the reason for it is usually because that's at least an older problem for Blender. I didn't really get this one, but a lot of people do advise for it. So, you know, you do you. I will keep it a GPU, but if you want to do it on CPU, it's cool. You should. But basically, it's because Blender would crash sometimes on GPU for some reason. CPU is a little more stable. And it's okay, we will not render this, we will just basically have it here, and that's basically it. Alright, so again, having this, all you gotta do is go to the baking tab right here, and there are a couple of things. Now, if you did hear about baking textures or normals, which is something I did talk before as well, you'll see that basically you can bake a lot of stuff. And the default thing that this will come up with is combined. Now, you'll not really use this, and there's a reason for it, because this basically will combine diffuse, glossy, transmission, and emission, which you can actually see down here. The problem with these is emission actually, and I think transmission as well. I'm not really sure actually, but usually these use lighting information. So you see here lighting, it can be direct and indirect lighting. And actually, if you scroll over them, you'll see that this adds indirect lighting contribution. So basically, this will bake also the lights. And what does that really mean is, well, you will bake the way the light interacts in our scene right now with our object, which is a big problem because if you move this to a 3D software and you want to use this in any other project other than this one, you will not be able to, because the lighting will never match, because you already have baked lights on your object and you will basically have to work with those and with other lights from your other projects, which is a mess. Don't ever use it. Well, there are some times when you could use it if you know exactly what the lighting will be and you know you will use those assets only for that one time. But I'll be honest, I don't think that's a good reason. I think it's better to just not use it at all. Just do it separately and then light it in real time. Now, if you do games in general, sorry, you can bake lights anyway in the engines. And I think that's better anyway. So let's just go with this. All right, so by the way, if anyone asks why would you bake lighting, it's because remember when I said GPU and cycles is used basically with GPU because of lighting? Because to render the light, it's a lot of computation behind, and that's why it's taking so much longer to render with cycles, because it has real lighting. Well, If you bake the lights, you don't need that anymore because the lighting is already on your object, so you don't need it. Alright, so after all this talk, let's actually switch this to get our color information. To get the color information, you actually need the fuse. Now for those, again, that used Blender before, you do know that the fuse was actually the default node that Blender came with in material. It was not Principal BSDF. Principal BSDF did not exist until I think it's Blender 2.8. I might lie, I'm not sure. I was not there when that happened. But yeah, the fuse was the main one before. And basically what the fuse does is just give you color. It was not giving you roughness or metal or whatever. You would just have color and just you have to go from there and create everything yourself if you wanted it. So you have to have the fuse here. Make sure that the node you want to bake this information to is the selected node in the shader, because otherwise this will not work, because Blender will not know where to actually bake all that information. And make sure that the object you want is selected. So all you have to do from here on is actually just bake, which I'm gonna press right now.
3 hours later.
Alright, so we're back and we have this done. So basically, this is kind of ready to go. This is new, alright? This is the same information you just saw before, but I swear it's new. It's baked, and actually you can see it right here because I do have these asterisks here, which means there was a change in the texture, and I swear I did not paint over it. So we do have the color, and actually we can get a Principal BSDF right here. Plug this into the base color and actually put this into the surface to see how this will look. And look at that. There is no, by the way, the image texture is not connected to a texture coordinate, which means this texture is perfectly formed over our cylinder because it all these basically all these parts, all these images here are perfectly put over our UV wrap that we did previously. So with this being said, now we do already have the color, which is pretty cool, but is that enough? No. So I think I should have started actually with this. The 3 main informations that you want for everybody to have is color, roughness information, and normals. The reason for it is color, well, it gives it the color. I think it's self-explanatory why you would want it. Roughness gives it the shininess-ish. So the shiny and the non-shiny parts of the body, because nobody is really ever perfectly shiny. Now, if you do have some, again, it's still good to have it. So that's pretty cool. And the normals bring the actual detail in. Really, you'll understand it better when we do the rim. I'm gonna explain it here when we do the map, but these are the 3 informations mainly you want. Now, there's one more information you actually will want for these in particular, in these kind of bodies, and that is the metalness. Now, that is actually the problem that I had before, but again, I will talk about that in just a second when we get there after I am done with these 3, because I think it's important just to notice how to do this, and then we can talk about the other stuff. So all you have to do from now is just make another image texture. Because again, this is the color, that's cool, because we have it. But we also need to get a little more than that. We need to get the roughness. Now, we cannot put them on the same map because they will all make the information on the same UV and wrap. And basically, it would mean that our roughness and our color will both be exactly in the same place, which is not good. So we need a new image texture to bake that information into. And I think I pressed on the animation, didn't I? Yep. All right. We're back. We are back. Good. All right. So again, I have, I do already have this. I've already done this. So main cylinder roughness, and let me actually get it here as well. This is how a roughness map will look like. I'll show you the process in just a second, but what's the difference? And this is what I was talking to you about, that there's a way different story when we talk about roughness versus color. And that's why I was telling you, maps are usually a little different. And the reason for it is because color gives you the color information, but roughness doesn't need to do that and cannot really do it with color. It needs to be a black and white image so that Blender basically can tell. So think about it this way, all right? Black is 0, white is 1, and Blender has to know which value it has to get and where on each part of the body. And that's why the roughness map will always look something like this. So having this, so again, make sure this is selected. Make sure your object is selected. And in the bake here, you need to go from diffuse to roughness. This is pretty easy to get. And all you gotta do from here on out is just bake. Alright, so we are done. The roughness map is here and we are ready to see how it looks. And again, it's right here, the asterisk. So yes, a change did happen. Oh, and actually you can see the change. A little bit anyway. And the reason I think this looks like this, yeah, I know why this looks. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in just 1 second. I did not have this applied. I had this one applied, and so the roughness didn't really know. So yeah, see all these little dots and places where it's shining. It's because of this material. In this one, when we have it, well, like this, it doesn't have that. It's very clean, and that's why this looks like this. So you need to also have the material you want to basically take the information from and put it on your image. You have to have that applied on your body, and this just to be selected, not applied. All right. So my bad on that one. And the same will go. This object has to also be selected, and just make the roughness map. I think this is an okay time to talk to you a little bit about the mistake I made yesterday when I tried to do this exact stuff, and it actually did work, but not fully. The reason for it is because when I did all this material, I did not think of this. I did not think of the moment where I have to actually get this information on our image textures. And there's a problem. When you do this, you should work so that you basically can, let's say, separate your information. Now, what do I mean by separating your information? If you look closely here, all right, you will have the base color. You will have the roughness, the metallic, and the normal. And I think I'm lagging a little bit. Yeah, because the texture is working. All right, we're back. Sorry, the computer started lagging a little bit because of the baking. All right, so first of all, look at the roughness map now. All right, we baked it in, and this is how it looks now. All right. So yeah, a big difference. And here's what I was saying. So on the principle of BSDF, you do have the base color. You do have the roughness map, and you have the metallic and the normals. When you create a material, you should separate this so that you have each of at least the 3 important ones, so color, roughness, and normals, to have this information separately. So when you actually bake it, it's easy for you to bake, because here's the problem, right? When you do go to bake, roughness, diffuse, and normal is kind of easy to get because, I mean, it's right here, basically. But there's a kind of a big problem, and that's a problem I ran into yesterday. So when I actually do get this in, so as you can see, the roughness works. Now our material is shiny where it has to be shiny, and is not shiny where it doesn't have to be shiny. But as you can see, there is still quite a difference between our materials. Yes, we don't have the normal yet, but really the normals will not work this much on this particular body necessarily. So what's the problem? Well, let's actually get this material one more time applied, and let's get the metallic up. And how about this? This does look different. It looks a little closer. Now, fair enough. This is still not enough information, and that's what I was kind of saying, because the information is not separate. So basically, when you do get a diffuse from this particular material, it will just get all the diffuse. We basically have 3 materials here, because we have the snow, we have the red metal and the black metal here, and this was not connected. So if this would have been connected into the base color, this would have worked a little better. And actually, if we do look at the color here, you will see that there's still a problem we have, which is right here, which is here, we don't have our stains, which is kind of a big deal, because the stains, so here it is, right? They're missing. And it took me a long time to understand why this is missing. I don't have a particular explanation for it other than Blender just, for some reason, let me actually just save this. So yeah, save your images, by the way. It's just like the texture paints. Oh, and by the way, yeah, an important thing. When you do this, you don't need the texture paints anymore, because the texture paints, as you can see in the color, it's basically already copied onto your body, so you don't really need it anymore. That's fine. But what I was saying is, so it took me a long time to understand what is going on, right? Like, what's going on with the stains? Where did it disappear? And that's what I'm talking about, because if this color information, all this color in here, would have been separated, so this would have gotten into the base color, another part of it would have gotten the roughness, and a part into the normal, the baking would have gone super smoothly. And I'm actually going to open another Blender. Actually, let me open one more Blender file just now. Just to show you a little bit what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's very hard to explain this without actually seeing it. So here we are. So let's take this cube, for example, right? And actually, no, I'm gonna get a sphere, just because I think this is an easier. So let's smooth this. Let's go to shading. We will just do like a very small little procedural texture on it. Get a new material to it, and we have it right here. And I don't know, let's give it a Musgrave texture. Let's control it. Give it a base color. So this is how this will look. And let's make it like this, with a lot of detail and so on and so forth. Color ramp, not mix color, sorry. Color ramp. And we can make it whatever color you guys want. Let's actually make it, I don't know, this yellowish and greenish. This looks horrible, but you know what? Who cares? No, like this. I like it more. Does it matter? No. I just wanted to do it. Alright, so we have this. Basically, we will use the same thing for the roughness. The only difference, of course, being that the saturation will be to 0 and the value will be all the way up to be white. And then for the red one, we will go with the black value. And just put this into the roughness. So it knows where to be shiny, and it knows where to not be shiny. You can use the same information also for the metallic. So again, it tells it where to be metallic and where to not be metallic. And you can do the same with a normal. It doesn't really matter. That's not the point of this. It's just to show you one thing. So actually, let's move through to cycles. We need to UV unwrap it, but we'll do it super fast with Smart UV Project. And let's go to layout. Let's get basically the same setup so that we can better see what we're doing. All right. And here we go to the shader editor. And let's go to image texture. Now, what's the image texture really gonna do, right? Let's actually create the color. Let's make it, I'll make it 2K just to move a little faster. Yes, resolution also impacts the baking. The more resolution you give it, the harder it will bake. And let's move this, I moved it to cycles. Let's leave it on the CPU. And let's go to bake. And bake diffuse. So don't forget, have the color node selected, have the object selected. Let's go into material also, actually. And let's actually bake the diffuse. And as you can see, this doesn't look too good. And I know why it doesn't look good. And again, it was not on purpose. I just forgot to press something, but it's a very good example of what happens when you do this. The reason it looks like this, and actually you can see this part is brighter, this is not as bright, and what's really going on there? It's this, the contribution of the lights. So direct lighting and indirect lighting were turned on, which meant when I baked, it took the information of the lighting also on our texture here, and it really didn't work properly. So let's see how this will look without those. Right, so coming right back, I actually did test something out. So as you saw in the other file right here, this baked really bad, and I tested to see why is it doing that really. And actually, it's because of the metal. So I didn't really test this up until now. I did hear of this before. Now that I say to think about it, for some strange reason, when you bake with Blender and you do have metallic turned on, or you have a metallic map plugged into the metallic part right here in the you can't see it because of me. Let me actually move right here. So when you have this metallic right here, you will actually have a problem. And now I kind of look a little bit weird because it looks like I'm looking out of the screen. So let me, okay, so there, yeah, I'm having fun doing this, by the way. So right there, that was not working. The reason it was not working, it's because of metallic being turned on. So again, for some reason, it's doing this. So we can say clearly that the diffuse, which is the color, should be yellow and red, and we have black and red for some reason. It's because this was done by doing the metallic. And actually, if I select this color and the object, make the diffuse again. Okay, here we are, we're back. I start lagging, so I can talk. So what happened was, as you can actually see on the screen, now it's good. Now everything is fine. And the question is why? Well, it's pretty easy to understand why. It is because of the metallic. Now the diffuse, it's actually working properly. And I went to test it also on our train. And here is the new color map. And to see the difference, I actually, if you just give me 1 second there, I should have it around here. Yeah, it's right here. This, not that. This is the old map. And as you do see, there's a pretty big difference when it comes to the color. Because the red part is way brighter in the new version compared to the older version. And actually, it looks way closer. So this is actually with the textures. This is how it is with the procedural. There's almost no difference. It's a little bit of a difference, but not that big. And actually, if we turn the metallic on, it's more or less the same thing. But I will explain why this looks a little different. Because it's a problem I did realize last night. So yeah, this is how this works. Let me actually close this file. So just make sure that metallic is always turned off when you get the color. And actually, I would advise to kind of turn it off when you do your stuff, I think. And actually, let me put this back on, because I just realized this is now turned off. So it was 0.8. So yeah, the reason this was working way different yesterday when I tried to do it, it's because of there's really kind of a big problem, because right now we would like to have also metallic right here, and this is what I was saying. So I'm just trying to be as clear as possible. So let me take this explanation actually from the start so that I do explain it properly. So the reason you want your information to be separate, all right? So right now our information comes only from one node, from the mix shader node, which is not the greatest thing ever, because as you saw when I tried to get the metal down, the metalness, I had to go back to remember, oh, which metal was it? Where was the metal? Do I need to plug it? Do I need to unplug it? I don't know what I have to do. So it's pretty hard to deduce what you really have to do. And also this is because of what I'm going to show you right now. We want our metals to be metallic. It sounds logic, I guess, but there's a problem. We cannot actually bake metallic. The reason for it is because, as I just showed you, we don't have metallic information because this is not separated, separated. I cannot and don't have a way to separate the metallic information and put it on a map. So either we're thanked with the roughness, or there's one trick to actually get this to work. So for a better result, try when you make your procedural work, instead of using mix shaders, use mix color. It's basically the same thing. And also try to plug the end result into a principal BSDF. So basically when you do bake, it's way easier to do so. It's just my advice. Now you can whatever you want, but I think it's just better. It's easier to work with. But again, the three main factors, which is the color, roughness, and normal, they will be baked properly. So that's still fine. But let's say you want metal, which, for example, I do. How do I get metal if I actually can't? I will create the color. The information, sorry. So what I mean by that, I will create another image texture right here. I'll call this main cylinder. Oh, sorry, I put a keyboard here. All right. So I will call this metalness. And with this information right here, let me actually also choose it, because yes, I did have it. I thought that this is enough, but it's actually not enough. Oh no, wait. Oh, no. I just duplicated this and just, no. So I have to copy this and make this metalness. Or no, what am I doing? I have to create a new one. Jesus. So main cylinder metalness. All right. Get this. Make it 4K or, whatever resolution you want. Press OK, and now we do have a new version. I'm gonna go with a new version to get it empty, because the other one is wrong. I just thought that if I take the roughness map and just reverse it, it's gonna work, but then I realized it's not proper. And the reason for it is because when I do turn metallic on, this will turn the entire, and I mean the entire object into metal, which means the snow as well, which I don't think there's any metallic snow as far as I know anyway. So let's not actually do that. So we will need to actually create the information for Blender to actually decipher, and for the other 3D softwares as well. To do this, we will have to texture paint. And if you're missing texture painting from before, Don't worry, we will see it a little bit. I'm kidding. This is kind of the only time I'm gonna use it because again, I'm not doing everything here. So the metalness is here. We have a black background, and that's perfect for us. Because let's remember, how do roughness and metallic work? And also the bump map. By having black and white pictures. Black means 0, white means 1. So what that means is we will need to tell it where it has to be metallic. So basically, what you have to do is choose, let's say, a grayish color. We don't necessarily have to go all the way up. We can have strength up to 1. This depends on you, all right? This, you don't have to do it the same way I do, for example. This might be just me. And then you can just paint all over the place. And this might not look like a lot when you look at it like this, right? We do have this from the roughness and stuff. But if you actually look at the red here, when I do color it, you won't see a difference. The reason we won't see a difference, it's actually because of my bad. I did not connect the shader to the principal BSDF yet. And because of that, well, as you can imagine, we cannot really have the metalness. So now you look at it, and look at this. You can clearly see the effect that the metallic map that we're creating is contributing to our body. And you can choose to be metallic wherever you want. You can choose to be non-metallic wherever you want. It is all up to you, which brings us to the discussion of, is this better or worse? In my opinion, is worse because it takes way longer, but it's better because basically you do have the absolute control over it. You don't really care about anything. You can make this be metallic wherever you want it to be metallic, and non-metallic wherever you need it to be non-metallic. So it's kind of a double-edged sword if you ask me, because yes, it takes way longer, but in my opinion the best results are kind of exactly like that. So again, I don't recommend you to go full metal, like absolute white. I do recommend though to be kind of there. So let's say I do something like this. I actually do kind of like it. And look at this. This looks amazing. This looks perfect. So actually let's save this as. And I think, I had this metal map that I did last night. I'm just going to rewrite this to a main cylinder metalness. And let's save our image. And this is what we'll go with. So this is the image with our principal BSDF. This is the image without it, with the procedural material that we've created for ourselves. Now again, one thing we're definitely missing, and we don't want to miss it, is the stains on the front right below the lid. And the reason we don't really want to miss this, let me do this. It's because of the effect. I think it just gave a really cool effect having that. So let me get this here. I just think this is really needed and is really a cool effect to have. And how do we really get it? Well, as a matter of fact, that's another thing Blender just did. I can't fully explain why, because I just think Blender thought by itself here that it should be an emission. And yes, you did hear me right. So let's actually deactivate the metallic, because I think this will affect the color. It did last night, and that's why I'm saying that. So let me take, oh, by the way, the metal and the roughness, when you put them in here, so as you see, the metal is sRGB. That's wrong. You have to turn this to a non-color data. And why is that? Well, this is the one with metallic with non-color. This is the one with RGB. And if you don't see a difference, well, it might be because it's already black and white because we've created it. But basically, if these maps don't give you color information, which they don't use the RGB because these might affect actually the color of your object, and also it might get misinterpreted by Blender and actually give you errors. So only the diffuse, only the color has to have the RGB on. The other maps don't have the RGB, just non-color data, and go with that one. All right, good. So having this turned to non-color, let's copy this. Let's put it up here. And actually, let's create, you have to create another image. I already do have it. And I think I call it main cylinder emission or something. Let me see. What did I call it? Well, I didn't, and I don't remember the name, so you know what? I'm gonna just call it main cylinder stains. And some of you might ask, but can't we use the texture paint? You can. You actually can. In this case, I would advise you to do that. I just wanted to show you the bake. By the way, that is also 2K, so I kind of wanted it to be 4K. So you have to select this. Let's have it here as well. Where is it? Oh, I called it main cylinder stains, didn't I? Yeah, no, it's the new one. Sorry, I thought it's the one from last night. Silly me. How about that? And you have to get this to emit. And if you ask me why emit, why did you choose that one? Because last night I stayed and tried basically, I think, 3 nodes to see which one it is. Is it? Because usually it should have been the diffuse. It wasn't diffuse. I tried glossiness. It wasn't glossiness. I tried transmission. There was no reason to be transmission. I just tried it out. And then I was like, maybe emission. Why? I don't really know. It's not emitting light. It shouldn't be an emission. And yet Blender read it as an emission. So just expect, again, the reason this happens is because we don't have clear information. Now, if I had something like this image, for example, the roughness into the emission right here, into the node here that is named color, and I would bake the emission, that's what I would get, because it would read this emission right here. But since I don't have a principal BSDF, I don't have a way Blender really does this, it's a little bit random and you kind of have to play around for some of the data to actually be right. So you have to, find stuff, which, yes, I do agree, it's very annoying. I do agree that it shouldn't happen this way. It's kind of dumb. I also think, I don't think, I know, you can actually paint those stains over your actual color map. So we could have done this in the game engine, for example, sorry. And that would have been just fine. But we already did it. There's no reason to do that. And we should bake it from our previous work, because why not? So again, get this to emission and make sure the node is selected, make sure the body is selected, and let's just bake and see what we get. Okay, so we are actually back. And actually, I changed the audio settings a little bit. So I'm still apparently a noob. I put all the audio settings that I learned these last few days on my camera instead of my microphone, and I was like, I cannot hear a difference. So I don't know what this guy is talking about. Yeah, maybe the guy is not a problem. Maybe I'm just dumb. Or maybe there's no maybe in that sentence. But with all this being said, this is what we have. This is the result of baking the emission. And actually, you cannot see a lot. But if we zoom in right here, there we are. These are the stains. These are the stains we need. And these are the stains we have on our original object. Now, we do have... by the way, tell me in the comments if this audio is okay. I'm, again, not too sure. I do like it more, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a strange sound, something. I don't know. Let me tell me please if it's just me or if it's okay. Or if it's no, if it's just me or if it's not okay for you either. All right, so as you can see, the principal BSDF is already occupied, and I'm talking about the color because the color basically is already there. So what can we really do? And here's a little bit of a tricky part. We will get a mixed column, and we will have this little thing here. And I'm gonna actually also try a little bit of a trick. Do I think it's gonna work? I don't know actually. It's well, it's a trick. So there are chances for it not to work. Let me plug this in the B here. Let's see if it's working a little better now. All right, it does look proper, and we totally can see stains now. But I don't know. It's just not. It's just not as much as I hope. I'm trying to think why is that. It could be because I did a texture paint on 2K and then baked it on 4K. Maybe that's a problem. Even though that's kind of a dumb problem if you ask me. But anyway, the point is we do see it at least. So, you know, there's something we can try to actually, you know, change this a little bit, like you slide or overlay. But usually overlay is not going to work, and actually it's going to also destroy everything here. So add is usually the one you will need for stuff like this. And it does seem to work, though not to the effect. So again, this is how it looks with our principal BSDF right now. This is how it's going to look with the original procedural material. So you can see the stains a little better here. But again, it's probably because this was done in 2K. So that remains to be seen. However, the trick I was talking to you about is, what if I pull another image texture? I didn't try this last night. This is new, even to me. And just name this, I don't know. Let's call it new color. Still make it 4K. You press OK on it. Search for it to actually see it. Have everything here selected. And we're actually gonna bake the diffuse one more time. The reason for it is because this time it should actually take the information from our new one. So I want just to see if I'm actually going to be able to take all the diffuse information and actually have the stains as colors as I should have had it the first time around as well. So let's actually see this and see if it's working. Okay, so I came back and this is actually, again, I did not expect this to be such a good example, but here it is. Here's how the new map looks like. And if you don't see a big difference between this and this, well, you actually want to see this, actually. So between this one and this one? No, not that one. Where is it? Oh yeah, main cylinder color, that's the one. It's because it's not that much of a difference per se, but there's a difference for sure. So actually, let's go to new color. And the difference comes right here, where you can actually, do you see the stains? So actually, we can delete these two things and just get this here. And actually, we can call it main cylinder new color, so that we actually have an idea of what this is. And we can plug this into the base color. And actually now we do have this. And we can plug also the metalness. So we did see how the metal works against us when we do bake color. But we did also see how important it is to actually have the right information plugged into your principal BSDF here. Because as you saw, because we had this, when we got to bake our diffuse now, we got absolutely all the information we actually needed. Unlike the last time when the stains did not get actually, to be with our diffuse information, because Blender just thought it's an emissive information for some reason. So again, please, if you can, try to work with this, separate your information properly. All right, so I know I went a long way, but I think this is proper information. This is exactly how you have to do it. And I think at least this is super helpful, because I just taught you how to avoid a big problem that I kind of created by myself, and I also solved it. So that's pretty cool. All right, So we have color, color, roughness, and metalness. What else do we need? The third main big thing, because again, metal is not one of those big things. The third one, and maybe one of the best ones, is metalness. Not metalness, sorry, but normals. And I'm actually going to pull up just a little bit of a small project here that I worked on. It's a course I worked on for some time now, and I'm almost close to finishing it and posting it. And maybe, hey, at some point I'm actually going to teach something like this myself. I do actually plan on doing that, but it's going to be a long series, and I'm going to do it, way in the future. So definitely not in the next couple of months. So it's actually a character. I did create a character, and it's actually from a course from Grand Abbott and the game dev team on how to create a character in Blender. And you might say, well, this is maybe pretty cool, or you might think it's not that cool. But there's not only this. And yes, this is rigging, it's animation. We'll talk about this at some time, but not now. Trust me, it's not a time. But I did want to show you how important normals can be and what kind of a difference it can make. So let me get into the solid. And if you can see right here, let me actually pull the orc. Let's duplicate the orc here. Wait. No, this is not a right orc. I don't need this one. This is just to test my my character. I need this one. Let me just get it here. And actually, when you look at it like this, something doesn't look right. Like the mesh is not that great. And the reason for it is because if I actually get the mesh, so this is not a manually retopologized, so that's a very important aspect. And it's also, yes, it's triangulated already. Again, this is a more complex stuff, but it's basically optimized. So from, I think it was 3 million triangles that I had it at when I sculpted it, it got to 21K, which is not good enough yet. It should still be less, but you know, for one of my first characters, I think it's pretty okay. And again, the detail is not there. But when I do get into materials, look at this. The difference is crazy. And if you want to know how the difference is actually here, let me just pull off this big secret on you, which is actually, so of course, all these maps actually matter. So this is actually all the information for the materials. And that's because I basically baked all these. And that's kind of all I needed. So we have the color, we have the roughness, and we also have the metallic, because I do have metallic parts, so I needed it. But again, this was not there from the start. I did create the metallic map, just like I did for our train. That's also how I kind of knew how to do it. And this is the normal map. And look what happens when I actually cut this. We lose all that detail. Yes, the scale is there because we do have these cavities from the actual shader, from the color, but it doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't have a normal, it just looks weird. It just looks like it drew a little bit on it. So what? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But when I actually plug the normal in, yeah, it's totally changing the game, and that's how important normal maps are. So, sorry for this little parallel, but I just wanted to show you how important normals are. And the reason for it is because you won't really see it on the main cylinder, really, because it doesn't have the formatives. I didn't sculpt into it, so there's not gonna be a lot of stuff to show you here. But here's the deal with normal. Okay, so actually, let me try to take this and let me try to create a new image texture just to show you something. So let's get into normal. All right, a lot of you would be tempted to probably, you know, just select this, select that. Let's make sure that this is actually the one we are copying, and get this into normal. and maybe just bake it. All right, so we have the normal map now, which is pretty cool. This is the way it has to look. So this is not a black and white image anymore. It's gonna be an RGB image, which stands for red, green, and blue color. Because basically, with these three colors, we give the height information that Blender needs to basically, let's say, copy the deformations. So remember the cavities I talked about at the orc? And that way you can see that, you know, the textures are not just painted over and it looks like it's actually like scales and stuff. That's the normal map with the height information, you know, telling Blender what to do and how to make the light affect the body. And the way you can see it here very properly. So if we take the normal map and actually connect it to the normal node in a principled BSDF, it's gonna look like this, which doesn't look really good now, does it? The answer is no. The reason is no. It's actually because Blender doesn't know how to read it. If you just plug it in, Blender doesn't know how to read that image because it's like, okay, you gave me black and blue and green, a red, green and blue image. What am I supposed to do with it? Well, you have to have another node, which is called a normal map, to actually help Blender read the information. And look what happens when that's connected. So for reference, this is the original material, which is the procedural material we created. And with just these four image textures, that's what we get. It's literally the exact same thing. But here's the normal map in action. So actually you can see some cavities in here. And also you can see right around here, right? These cavities. Now these cavities are these here, right? And to see that much better, you actually can go to the strength, and let's pull the strength to 0. And it looks like it's painted in, just like I showed you at the orc. And if you exaggerate, go to 10, it looks like it's like super caved in. And usually, I mean, you have to put it to 1. Usually, that's how it should stay. But again, just because of the normal map itself, this basically gives enough information to Blender to know how to do this, which is pretty cool. It's pretty nice. All right, so this is how you actually bake all the needed information from the bodies we've created and the bodies we actually need. Sorry, I needed to select our normal again. And now let me show you one more thing before we finish this. So let's look at the rim. Now I'm not gonna do the exact same things for the rim, at least not all of them, because I don't think they're as necessary per se. So let me actually just quickly take the image texture and stuff. So let's actually get the texture, and let's make the rim color. And to do this, don't forget that we need to find so take the metallic out from everything that we use, which yes is super annoying, but unfortunately it is what we have to do. Let me see, is there something else that has metallic? I don't think so. So yeah, working with polygon apparently has some advantages over others. So have the color node selected here. Let me actually select it here as well. Rim column. Okay. And do basically the exact same thing. So diffuse, and we will just bake it over. Make sure this is selected and just bake. By the way, when you will see, maybe you'll see this no valid selected object. Make sure the selected to active is not activated, because if that is, you will need two bodies. I'll explain you in just a second what's that all about. Basically, you will need one body to get the information from, one body to get the information to. And yeah, we don't need this for this example. So let's just untick this and just bake it. All right, so we are back. So I did the color map for the rim, and there's a trick and actually an important lesson. I didn't realize that it's so important, but when we go to material, you will actually have two materials that actually we need to have the color of. All right, so we have to have the color from the diffuse, from the gold. We also need to have the color from the metal here. Now, I don't know, do we have, this is an emitter basically, so I don't think we should have the color of this, or at least I hope we shouldn't. I guess we'll see, but the point is, this is basically what we have to get, right? So again, you have to basically put the image texture once in a metal galvanized, and second in the gold material rim, and to have it selected in both of them when you will bake. And another important factor is that you will have to close the metallic for each of these, for each of the objects. So don't forget, the metallic will actually hurt us if we leave it. Alright, so actually let's save this, because this was horror. So I don't think you can realize for how long I'm actually trying to do this. I couldn't. It was horrible. Alright, so I'm saving this. So we're good to go. We have the colors for the rim. I do hope we don't need the emission as well, but until we do realize we would, I'm going to actually first I'm going to do the roughness. So because this is a good way to show you. So alright, I have the rim and we need to do the roughness of it, right? So rim, and let me just make a new one here and call it rim roughness. Okay, 4K, and we're just putting it here. It's gonna be a non-color data, and let me actually call it rim with caps lock right here. All right, so I have it here, and don't forget, select it, put it as active, and go into the metal galvanized, and copy this node here, and also have it selected. And now when we go to bake, we will actually change this to roughness. Now we will actually select it here as well, and press bake and see what we get. All right, and this is it. This is the roughness map. And again, you have to make sure you have it selected in both of them. Otherwise, it will make a very strange artifact, which is actually going to put you here another section of the color. I don't know why is he doing that. I don't know what he's thinking when he's doing it. Is he doing it? But at the end of the day, we don't really care about that. This was not the point of this. It's just to basically show you how you will do it. So you'll do the baking for something that has more than one material. Now, another thing. So let me actually pull the image. Not the image texture, sorry. Principal BSDF is what I want to put. Right here, actually. So we don't care about the metallic right now. This is not the point of this thing. It's the point of the normal map, and there's a reason for it, right? So we will do another firm normal map, just like we did the first time. So let's call it rim normal. Yeah. Okay. And you know, take this. Hey, don't you move. All right, so let's copy this and get it also into the slot of the gold material rim. And let's actually find it. It's gonna be right here. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so now we have it here as well. We need to change it, by the way, to non-color data. Now, this is not that important right now, but you'll see why it's going to be important a little later on. So have it active here, have it active here, and yeah, let's just go and get to bake and bake the normal, and let's see what we actually will get. Yeah, wait, let me get to normal right here, and let's see what we actually get. Okay, and now this is what we will actually get. So as you can see, there's some information in there, which is pretty cool, right? Well, yes and no at the same time. And what exactly do I mean by that? Well, when we get actually to the information here, right? So let me take the normal. As I said, we first need a normal map, and then we can plug this into the normal, and let's see what this gives us. This is what we get, right? Which is pretty good. It's a good material. It looks kind of exactly how it should look. I don't have all the effects yet, but again, that doesn't matter. That's not the point of it. And let's see how the normal actually affects us. So if we have a 0 or to 1, you can see it the most in the snow. That's basically what these all things are. It's really mostly doing the snow. But here's the deal. And here's why I wanted to do this example. If we actually hide this and go back to the to the high poly and the main and the low poly main cylinder, I actually got the rim as well. And the difference between them, it's actually, well, if I hide this, you'll kind of see it. You will see that here we have empty spaces basically. So if I do this, nothing really happens. The reason for it, let me hide this. So this right here, it's actually gone. So for the high poly, we still have them. We still have all these details. So let me get to solid. We have this, but for the low poly, there's no more such details. And there's a reason I did this, because it should work for me to actually use the normal map to basically have those details in. The way we'll do this, it's actually gonna be with normal map, but done in a different way. The way to do it actually is when we go to bake, get to normal, pick the selected to active. Now what that does is, as I showed you earlier with the error, you need two bodies to do this. Now the thing is, you need both bodies to be in the exact same location. So they have to overlap each other, otherwise this will not work. And the reason for it, it's basically, sorry, I'm looking, there's a Champions League game right now. For any of the Europeans, especially that like football, for any of, other places, if you're in America or something in the US, yeah, it's football. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna call it soccer. Alright, so here's the deal, and here's what we kind of have to do. How this works. Basically, we will tell Blender, hey, take the normal informations from the high poly version and try to put it on our lower poly version. Now, the way to do this is a little strange, and this is not fully optimized, it's just a little bit, but it's just to kind of show you an example of how this works. Hopefully it's gonna work perfectly fine. But there's a little bit of a different way to select this. So you need the image texture to be selected, of course. You need the the high poly to be selected first, and then the low poly to be selected, and remain basically the active selection. And there's a kind of a thought to it because you take the information from high poly to the low poly. So basically you have to tell Blender which is the selected one, which is the active one that you have to get the normal to. And that's basically the thinking of it. And then in the selected to active, you'll actually you'll be given two more options, which is extrusion and maximum ray distance. The maximum ray distance basically will tell Blender you should copy like how much of the ray distance you should take, which is actually kind of hard to explain, to be totally honest with you. But I'm trying to explain it as well as I can. And basically, Let's just, you can measure this, and I don't know, let's say we need kind of from here till maybe there. So wait, I didn't actually take a measurement. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm like maybe this. So 0 0.0, maybe 7, but this is not perfect. So maybe like a 0 0.08, something like that. Should work. So let's try that. Let's see what we get. So 0 0.08, 0 0.008 actually. Sorry. Okay, and with all these being selected, again, in this order in particular, actually, also let me get this into the gold material because actually I already have it there. I just need to make sure it is the selected one, and it is. It's fine. We're good. All right. So having this selected in that order. So again, high poly, low poly last, and make sure it's the active selection, and then press bake, and let's see what we actually get. All right, and this is big. And remember what I said about the super contrasty colors? This is what I'm talking about. So this here is way too much, and it's actually not gonna look right, but it's not really the point. I'm gonna try to do it one more time, a little better, but let's see actually what we get with this information, right? So again, the normal will be into a normal map and then put there. And let's hide the high poly. And this is the low poly version. And I mean, it's not perfect by absolutely any means, because actually it makes a very interesting. I don't know what this is. I think it's because of all this. I'll have to check this out. But that's, again, another point. What the point really is if I put this to 0, look at what it's doing. This is the power of the normal map. So the thing that you have to do from now on really is to basically tweak the max ray distance and maybe play with the extrusion as well, and kind of see where we have to be to to get good values, or at least better values. But basically these are the exact stuff we need to get. And also one more thing, this is the high poly, and again this is the low poly, and here we don't even have this. And when we get to material, we don't see this. So this is a difference that I wanted to just test out. You cannot normal map this, so you cannot actually fake this one. You can fake the holes around it, all right? But you cannot actually fake the golden spikes here, let's call them, because it's actually affecting the geometry. And so the way to think about it is like, what's affecting the geometry so much for us? That's where we kind of have to work on. But other than that, this is actually doing a pretty good job. As I said, it's only, again, a matter of tweaking things from one point to the other to actually have it work exactly the way we want. And actually, let's try to make it one more time. This time, we will try to bring... maybe the max ray distance is too much. So let me actually try to bring it to like 0.005. And usually this is kind of the measurements you kind of work with in here. Usually it's 0.002, 0.03, but I just thought because it's such big details, I will need this. Apparently it's not really the case. So let's actually see if this one works a little better. And again, if not, it's just a little bit of a test. I'm going to give you the exact details when I will actually give it a bodies. But that's basically the way you use normal mapping, right? So for really small details, you can just bake the normals over an image plane like we did for the roughness and for all the other stuff. But when it's something like this, when you're actually trying to fake holes and stuff like that into your body, yeah, you cannot really do it that way. You actually have to use the selected to active and basically tell Blender, take these details from this high poly version and put it on this low poly version. But you have to, again, think about it very well of, is this affecting the geometry too much? Is this able to be faked? And that's basically it. Again, think about it this way. Blender just has this information and tells the light how should affect that said information. Other than that, really, if it's like rounding corners and stuff, Blender cannot do that with normal mapping. That has to really be geometry, you know, being modeled. So let's make it one more time, see if we get a better result. Alright, so this is basically the end result. Yes, it's not perfectly working. Again, I tried a little too much. I did think that it's not gonna totally work because this here is a little too much of a detail. Again, it's changing. So actually, let me show it to here. This is kind of changing a lot, the geometry. So I kind of knew that it might not work. But as you can see, like this square shape here, it's actually working pretty well. Yes, close enough, you will not notice that. But actually from far away, it's pretty good. It's fine. Kind of the same goes for this. Let me actually get this closed. So it's, as you can see, it's doing a little better. Same with this one, is doing a little better. But again, the spike cannot actually be faked. So really, you can use this kind of method in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's usually better. Actually, oh wait, you cannot see. Let me put myself some like this. Now I have to switch myself again, don't I? Well, yeah. Now I'm switched again, and I'm looking there. Good. Basically, the values I used is like I put a little bit of an extrusion now, and I did minimize the max rate distance. But the problem with it is, and this is why I'm saying that this is a problem, because to get this detail here, you actually don't need too much of a max ray. However, to get a detail inside here, you get a lot. You need a lot, and that's why I'm saying you cannot really do that one. So you can fake some of it, but you can't fake all of it. Again, if you want a better example, go look again at the orc I showed you earlier. But that's basically kind of the same idea. That's exactly what I did for that one. That's the way you have to think about it. So you have to duplicate your body. You have to have a high poly version and a low poly version, both of them in the exact same location. And you use the selected to active version to basically go around with it. But yeah, other than that, there's not much more I can say. Probably when I will give you this, they're not, again, gonna be game assets, or they're not thought to be game assets. So will I optimize them? Yes. How much? Well, I don't really know. It really kind of depends. But really, it's again not all about that. It's more or less about the experience, and I give you that for, you know, animations or stuff like that that you might want to use. So with all this being said, I wish you all a great day, and actually I will wish you much more than that in the actual outro. Alright, so being in the actual outro right there, I just well, I first look at a better example at the main cylinder. So if you guys have any comments, any questions about the methods and stuff, I'm here to answer your questions. I know the last part was for sure a little confusing. It is a more complex way to do it, and I don't know how well I explain. I will try to do it once more, maybe in the future, and actually explain it better. But basically, these are the methods to bake your textures and to bake the normals. These are the methods to also, you know, optimize, or this is one of the methods to optimize your bodies and fix some of the details so that you actually again save your GPU some of its space. So with all this being said, thank you so much for actually sticking around till the end of the video, and I wish to see you guys in the next video. Probably I will have a bonus video tomorrow. It really depends. But yeah, for now, this is it. This is probably also the last time we will see the train, because the next videos that I have in mind is not concentrating on the train. So until next time, have a great day, have a great week maybe, and just stay safe. Bye guys.